fence expert. Who's that guy in that orange shirt? Who must be the fence expert? It's almost time to talk about the fences. It's time to discuss operations and expenses. It's time, it's really time to elevate small businesses. It's time for Joe to drop his knowledge. It's relentless. This rhyme of mine is getting a bit ridiculous. Here we go. We're live with Joe. Enjoy the show.
What is up, Fizz fam? So good to be back with you guys again. I appreciate you guys tuning in or listening via podcast, if that's what you're into. If you're listening to the podcast, welcome. Thank you. What you're listening to is a recorded version of a live Q&A conversation that I hold. We hold a live Q&A most every Saturday from 10 to 11 Central. You can find us at youtube.com/Joe Everest. That'll find me. Guys, welcome. We're coming to you guys live. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, we're coming to you live from the Expert Professional Wood Care Studios. Caleb and Ashley and the team, thank you. We always appreciate it. I got my retro vintage hat. I don't know if you can call it retro and vintage if it's only a few years old, but you can't get them anymore. So anyway, guys, if you read the description, you know who today's guest is. The one, the only, Shawn King. How are you, sir?
Come on, what do you mean the one and only? This is Shawn King.
The one, the only Mr. Fence.
Hey, look at.
I like it. I like it. Look at that.
That was completely unplanned. I just looked up and saw it. I'll be damned.
I love it. I love it. How are you, sir?
Fantastic. Saturday morning, I'm at the office. I actually forgot about our meeting until you sent me the text. I was in here getting ready to grind away. And
Fair enough. I think Braden and I were talking. This might be the first time we've had you on in a while from the studio.
This is the first time I've been in the studio in a long time. And truth be told, the studio is right by my desk. So,
hey, that's nice. That's nice.
It's not very far away, but I normally am sitting right there, zooming and talking. And
yep.
And let's be honest, I'm really not even over there very often. Truth be told, I feel like my desk is neglected because I'm on the road so much.
I was going to say the majority of the videos I see from you are out in the field.
Yeah, it's dusty over there. It's lonely. It's a sad story.
Well, it's a sign of a business that is running efficiently and on its own.
There's that. And I think you're absolutely right. That's I oftentimes have to remind myself that as bad as it is, I'm never here. That's kind of the point in that. That's what we're trying to help others in our industry grow too, is to get to where I'm getting close. I'm not totally there.
Sure.
But I'm getting close to the point where I am gone for 3 weeks, a month. And sometimes I wouldn't even think about the business for days.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
Better check in.
That's who's paying the bills.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but that is the goal. When you think about business ownership, and I guess everyone's visions can be different, but when I think most people view or dream of business ownership, they think of something like that, to where, they can, if the family has, if there's something going on, that they can step away for a few days and go to a graduation or go to a wedding somewhere, or just do whatever they want to do without being just shackled to the desk sort of thing.
Unfortunately, that's tougher than it sounds. And more often than not, I think people go backwards, right? And so they spend less time with the family, less time able to go to those things because their business is running them. And it just, you're better off if you just would work with somebody else and work your 40 or 50 and take your vacation. Sometimes that's what I find it's very common actually.
Yeah. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that, where he says, hey, listen, the number 20 or 30 guy at Google gets paid far more than the number 1 guy at a small business the majority of the time. Yep. And so when he's talking about people going into entrepreneurship, he's like, you really need to make good with that. You need to make sure you know what you're getting into here, that, but if you've got the entrepreneurial spirit, you'll want to, you won't thrive in a situation where you're number 20 in an organization.
So I think it has a lot to do with having the ability to be creative, more than it does dollars, right? I honestly believe entrepreneurs are driven, and maybe off the rails to a certain extent, to have that ability to be creative and spontaneous without red tape, right?
Sure.
Where money may not be the driving factor oftentimes, and it's really not what you're going to end up with. I don't see entrepreneurs just necessarily making silly money.
No. I mean, it's well, to your point, I saw you make a post about this earlier this week, I think, where you're like, listen, there's some folks out there that will try to sell you a dream where they've got, Ferraris and Lambos, and they've got the videos are of them in these wild houses or on these,
and they say it's easy, it's 4 steps, throwing cash in the air. That's an anomaly.
Right.
If it's true.
And that's a big if. That's a big if. Well, I mean, think about it. Let's think about the people that are the most successful in our industry, and in terms of dollars, right? Success, I guess, can have many different definitions. I mean, there's guys running $100 million, $200 million businesses that no one knows about. Well, maybe not no one.
True.
A handful of people know about them, right? And their names that if you're in their markets, they are the giants, but you don't see them on social media. You don't see them on video, that sort of thing, because their heads are down. And so,
grinding.
You gotta be careful with that. And I don't know that we see it so much in the fence industry, but I think your point was more just in general, right? These guys, these success coaches, where they're just, and that's probably the next thing too. Like, it's just generic success. They're like, oh yeah, listen, no matter what industry you're in, my magic potion will work for you. Yeah.
90 days. You can be buying a jet and a Lambo. I'm like, bro, come on, man.
Yeah.
You're taking advantage of people, and people will pay into that. And there's no credibility. Like, show me the person that did that 90 days. Show me the whole laundry list of people that bought the Lambo. And you'll never see that behind those coaches. They'll never show you the list of people, right? So.
Yep. No, that's
interesting.
I agree. But some people jump into this thinking it's going to be something similar, right? That within a few years they'll be wildly successful in this and that. But
I've had recent conversations with a couple of people that have contacted our academy. They're either buying a fence company, thinking about buying a fence company, or starting one, and they're like contacting us and thinking, well, we want to start with the academy, which makes sense. Okay, I got that. But they'll listen to some of them talk. They're like, think this is going to be super lucrative, and it seems easy. They're like, well, we hired someone to build a fence. It seemed real easy. I think I can make some money at that. And I'm just like, how did you get to the point you thought that the fence business was the easy way to make money?
Right. In a business where we are stressing to people that they should make 50% gross profit. You know what I mean? Like, listen, there's other industries out there where 50 is the floor or below the floor.
Exactly. Right. And so I'm talking to these guys about, well, what kind of net profit can I make? I'm like, well, that's a skewed number depending on what you're going to call net and what are you going to pay yourself, blah, 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 blah. And oftentimes I give it to them and they're like, no, really? Well, I mean, if you quantify it this way, it's going to be this.
Sure.
And they're like, well, buddy told me you could make this. I said, yeah, but did he pay himself out of that? Did he buy anything out of that? Is there, what No. Okay, then yeah, sure, you can make that, but it's not a real number. Like,
well, that's the thing is, maybe they didn't grow. Maybe they didn't invest in themselves that year. Maybe it was a maintaining year. And I think you got to look at that over time, too. I think a lot of people, I think a lot of them will look at an anomaly a year and say, well, look at how good this year was.
Yeah, there was one in particular where his numbers, he was buying a company and the guy was doing $1 million a year, but the P&L stated that the net profit was like 35% net.
Interesting.
Right? And I'm like, there's no way, bro. It like 7% overhead. No. So the guy says, no, that's what it is. I vetted it, blah, 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 blah. Bought the company. And then we dig in and I'm like, so do you have a truck? Insurance, fuel? No, that was the owner's truck. He took it with him. Okay. So we need to get that. What about building? Well, we were using his barn and now the guy had zero overhead, had been in business for 30 years, did it out of the back of a barn in his backyard. Yeah, his overhead probably was 7%.
Sure.
And this guy's telling me, but I want to grow the business. Key indicator. I want to get into markets I haven't been before and install fence that I haven't done before. Key, like indicators like, hey, you're not going to do that with 7% overhead. Zero on advertisement ever? Yep. No.
Not a recipe for success.
You're going to have to flip the overhead with the net profit.
Right.
And the net profit with the overhead percentage. So those are going to become transversed.
Yeah.
And he's like, what?
Yeah, you need to be okay with that for a while. If you want to grow. Yeah. Now, if you happen to have your own truck and you want to run the business out of your house.
And you want to be at every single job site. The guy had, I think, 2 1099 guys, and built every fence.
Yeah.
Okay. You can own that job all you want.
Sure. Well, yeah, I think, I think that's the reason we see a lot of guys and gals struggle, and maybe not just only in fencing, but in contracting, because they see, we've had this conversation before. They are incredible professionals at the skill side of it, right? At the fence installation, at the gate building, at the automation installation, whatever. They're incredibly skilled technicians. But when they step over onto the business side, what they find out is it's a whole different wild world over there. They've just shackled themselves to a job. If they bought a business, they just bought a job sort of thing, not really a business. But
you're not wrong.
And it takes 3 to 5 years for them to figure that out and go, gosh, this is not what I dreamed of. And the bad thing, Shawn, is so once they become so disenfranchised with everything, then they leave the industry. They say, I'm done with it. And whether it's pride or whether it's whatever else, they don't come back. And so what we as the industry end up losing a really skilled technician because they were probably really good at what they were doing. That's why they were successful.
That's right.
But
you're not wrong. That even happens, taking out of entrepreneurship, we have that happening. I believe we're losing skilled ninjas because we're promoting them to be managers, because that's the natural cycle, but they suck at managing people. Right.
Yep.
So you created stress in their world because this is what we all expect. Oh, you got to move up the chain of command. Da, da, da. You've been here for 10 years. Johnny, you should be a manager. Johnny can't communicate with people. Right. It sucks.
Yeah. He doesn't want to.
It's a square peg in a round hole, and it doesn't work. And then frustrations, and then you have stress. And with stress becomes mistakes, more stress. Yeah. Vicious cycle down the tube it goes.
But like you say, that's kind of the natural progression that we came up in business seeing, right? Is that you've got a really good guy and you promote him to maybe team leader, and then he does really good at that. So maybe you make him like a field supervisor, and then if he does really good at that, you bring him in the office, and or you try to promote him into sales because they really know installation, so they'll really know sales, and then you find out they don't want to sell. They don't want to be in an office. They don't want their office to be their truck where they're driving around to job sites, and they just love to install fence, and they're really good at it. And you probably should have left them there.
I think that we could bridge that gap a little bit if we were to invest in training. So oftentimes, what I mean by training is oftentimes we take a fence ninja who's good at building fence and just assume he knows how to communicate, manage, and process.
Yep.
Rarely do we find anyone in a business says, you know what, Johnny, I'm going to promote you to be a field superintendent. I'm going to send you away to a school for 5 days to learn how to communicate with people. That doesn't happen. No, it really doesn't. And we got to focus on those traits.
Well, but which doesn't make sense though, right? Because when we elevate them to team leaders, because they've showed skills, but because we've invested in training for them, right? They came in. I think you and I are alike in that I prefer to hire someone with no experience if they're coming onto a team on one of our installation teams. I want them to learn it our way and know our way of building fence. And because if you start with step 1 and you end at step 30, you'll have a great fence. And and it just works. It's our way of doing it. Now it might be different than somebody else's, and that's fine. This is just the way we figured out works for us. But we invest in time and training is the thing. Is we put in a lot of time building them up. But then when you elevate them, when you give them, when you elevate them into management, the training stops. You're like, well, it's just dealing with people. And you're like, wait a minute. So when they're a team leader, they were a leader of 2 or 3 people.
Right.
But then a field supervisor is typically, 15 to 20 people. Now they're dealing with the team leaders typically, but still it doesn't make sense, but it's something that we've seen growing up. You just keep elevating them, and then one day you bring them into the office and they sell fence for you. Like, well,
and they get it done, but there's a difference. There's a key thing to think about: survive, and thrive. All right. And I've been really soaking this, been really studying this lately. I think, without going off the deep end right now, I don't want to go too far off the rails here, but
sure.
But our primal instinct is to survive. It's not to thrive. If you look back at animals in the kingdom, they're there to survive. They're going to do what they have to feed and eat and survive. But to thrive, that's totally different, right?
Yeah.
That's excelling. That's trying to be the best at, providing. So I find that survival is not good enough. That's average because everybody's average, right? We need to find a way to get our team members to thrive, and to bridge that gap to get them to thrive. One, they got to be hungry for it. It's not even a primal instinct. We want to just survive. We do what we have to survive every time, but we don't necessarily do what we have to thrive. And there's a big difference there. So I think it comes down, you got to have the right attitude, the right mindset, and then the proper equipment and training opportunity to thrive. Right. And this goes all across the board in the field, as well as in the sales and your management team. We should focus on ways to make them thrive rather than just give them the tools to survive.
Yeah. Then give them the bare minimum.
That's right.
Yep. And that's something that we've been thinking about on our end is management training. So when we do promote someone into a team leader, they should probably have some sort of management training on, just because when they're just a team member, they're really not managing anybody. They're managing themselves and their time and that sort of thing. But then team leader for us, it's when they're managing 2 or more people. So then it's like, well, they probably need some skills for that. They probably need, and maybe not everyone does, but something we're going through. We kind of started a little bit off track here because we're going to talk about training, but we're slowly but surely coming back around to it though. Coming back around to training. Let's talk about training. and let's start within the field and then what that looks like, and then maybe move into the office, because I'll be honest with you, Shawn, I haven't figured out the office training yet. We're working through it, but I don't know. So I'd like to pick your brain on that a little bit.
I'm going to preface it by telling you that I haven't figured out the training in the field or the office. Okay.
Fair.
So
fair.
I'm just dedicating time and effort daily to try to move the needle towards a positive direction. But with what I'm allowed to do every day, which is generally geek out on installation procedures, on how to simplify, to multiply, and how to get our team members to win, decreasing stress by more finesse type things. We are really moving the needle and dissecting down to time segments per day on an average project, right? The 80-20 rule. We're really focusing on the 80% of what you do and not the 20% of the anomalies.
Yep.
And we're really moving the needle on, one, measuring the data so that we can have an idea of quantifying what's happening in the field, not, hey, we just built fence today.
Yeah.
Well, exactly what does that mean? I mean, like, how do we break that down to the lowest common denominator? And for us so far, we're figuring out that really the lowest common denominator is holes and hours.
Okay.
It comes down to it. It's pretty much holes in the ground and hours. And you break every type of fence down to those basic minimums. Then you can start to get some comparable data, consistent data. And I think that's key for people to realize, is that you can go measure the matrix of you building 10 different types of fence. You can't really compare those 10 together if they're all different common denominators. In other words,
sure.
We learned this in math. You have to get the lowest common denominator before you can start doing math equations with that same denomination, right? That same equation.
Mm-hmm.
You got to reduce it. So we have to turn privacy fence and picket fence and chain link and aluminum and vinyl and wood into some sort of comparable data that's equal between all parties so that we can quantify the entire picture. And that's where we're coming down to holes and hours. So we're geeking out on that to figure out some consistent data in there. And we're really moving the needle and learning that there are some very accurate numbers that we could track. When I say accurate, I mean they're consistent and that they're predictable. And I can almost, put a number on the wall. So this is going to take this much minus a crazy anomaly. It's going to, and it has. And then we've taken it outside of our company into many other companies. And we find the main difference is geographical and the terrain, right?
Sure.
So
yep.
Primarily we're going to see it in the ground, which is, like I said, the holes and the hours.
Soil content. Yep.
So, but a holes to hour equation is going to differ in from one subdivision to another almost, or definitely from one part of the country. Charlotte and Nashville are some of the two that recently we were dealing with that we, digging a hole was exponentially longer than somewhere else in the country, right? So like back at home, exponentially. It's like, I'm talking an hour to dig a hole to 30 seconds. That's not even on the same planet. Like two totally different things. Yeah. And then effort is quite a bit more. So as we move around and figure this out, we have an average for hole to hour. We call it post hour, but it's the same thing, post hour equation. You have to figure out how to manipulate that in your region because of your post hour equation. But once you figure that out, then what we've learned is that it's still very consistent for you. Like if that's your normal digging conditions, this is measurable, predictable data for you to hold your team accountable for, and avoid the go out as hard as possible every single day and build as much fence as you possibly can every single day.
Sure.
That's not a good game plan. That's not repeatable.
No, because I think the wheels fall off of that once you hit an anomaly.
Shit breaks. I mean,
right.
Drive your car with the pedal to the metal, floor it is all the way down, and run it in a straight line, and let me know how long that works out for you.
Well, absolutely. Well, and two, once you hit an anomaly, and once you realize you're not going to have a record-breaking day, then the wheels absolutely fall off of it because you're like, well, that was my goal. We're not going to meet goals, so I guess let's figure it out. I don't know.
You crash and burn, and there's a lot for psychology too. It has to go into winning. So as you win, you want to win more. Yeah. As you lose, you actually get a little bit defeated unless you're not right in the head. You're going to get a little defeated.
Yeah.
All right. yellow negative. It's a negative thing. You've lost. When I say lost, it's like you missed critical point number 1. You were going to have step 1 and that didn't go well because of whatever reason.
Yep.
We've all seen this happen, the snowball effect of when something goes bad, you make a mistake. What happens is another one right behind it because you've lost focus and you got distracted.
Well, and I think you start looking for it, right? It's a mentality thing. You're like, then you start looking for what else is going wrong.
Yeah, it's coming, right? Yep. I actually had a very in-depth conversation last night with a team member of mine that does a fantastic job. He may be watching today. So he thought I was ripping on him or hogging him down hard, but the reality of it was you do a fantastic job. I want to help you thrive, right? I want to help you be better. And one of the things was positivity on this side of he needs to be thinking positive thoughts.
Yep.
So I played some videos and showed him some things that he was doing and the words he was using. And then I actually, prior to the meeting, did the same exact video for the same exact project using the same exact information and had him watch it. And I said, do you see a difference? One thing was he's like, this yard is covered in dog shit. It's going to be horrible to work in. Just watch out for it. I don't know. There ain't nothing you can do about it. And my video, I said, so there's a couple of piles of dog poop in here. You might just want to pick it up first before you get started. And then you have a great day. Not a big deal. It's not that much.
Yep.
Same piles of dog shit, same job, same people. I said, think about your team when they're going to listen to your video. You're a leader and you come off with that. That's the first thing they hear. Oh man, we got to do that every day.
Yep. So it's a positivity thing. It is. It's when you wake up in the morning and you say to yourself, it is going to be an awful day. It is going to be so right. It's a Monday and I'm probably going to get there and somebody's probably going to be in a bad mood too. And it's going to take forever. When you start looking for that, right? You show up to work and you're looking for somebody that's grumpy. You're like, oh, yep, see, I knew it. And that tells me it's going to be a bad day. And then
I was right. I should be grumpy because he's grumpy.
And now I'm going to look for more negativity. But that same person wakes up on the other side of the bed and says, it's going to be a great day. I'm going to get to work 10 minutes early. I'm going to see somebody that's in a great mood. Time's going to fly and we're going to crush it. And sure enough, now they're looking for it, right? Now they're looking for someone that's positive. They pass the grumpy pants, right? And they see somebody that's positive and they're like, nailed it. I'm here 10 minutes early. So-and-so is in a good mood. Going to be a great day.
And the thing is, Joe, is people understand that is your choice.
Yeah.
That is your choice. No matter what happens to you, no matter what, you have the choice. I call it the 3 C's, and I did not make this up. I just steal it. That's amazing. The 3 C's, every moment of the day, you have the choice to get the chance to make the change. And oftentimes we get stuck on the fact that, well, he's lucky and he got this, he made a choice along the way that gave him the opportunity to have the chance to make the change. And then some people get defeated and say, well, I made the right choice. I was in the right mood and the day still went to shit. Well, you still got to have the chance. So making the right choice does not guarantee the change. It just gives you the opportunity. And once you get your mindset around, oh, I just have a chance of having a better day. You're right. Sure. So expectations are set and you'll win better that way.
Well, and the person that you see that's constantly positive and is looking for a good day, at the end of that day, if it didn't go well, they're going to say to themselves, hey, I'm another day closer. It's coming tomorrow now. We're one day closer to success. Let's go.
It is so simple just to have the choice to be positive. There's no benefit. You cannot change whatever the chain reaction that just happened.
Yeah, absolutely. And that change, it could take 30 days. It could take 90 days. He could have 90 days of waking up and going, it's going to be a great day. And then going to bed going, it's tomorrow. I know it. It's going to be tomorrow. Here we go. It's the same. You don't see, I don't know. It's all mentality. It's all in your head. It really is.
It really is.
Let's walk through training. We're already halfway through this, and I want this always goes so fast. And to be clear,
this is not going to be a 1 hour show.
I know it hasn't been since we decided it's going to be a 1 hour show. It hasn't been a 1 hour show yet. But let's talk about training though, Shawn. Right. So I joined Mr. Fence, and I don't know anything about fence, and I joined the team. What does that training look like? What does day one look like? What does week one look like? Walk me through it.
Okay, so we have different divisions in the academy. We have a division that's dedicated to installation training where we are going to go with your team and build fence on your trucks, on your job sites, in your environment. And that's very unique in our industry. Typically, you would send somebody to a training and they would build a fence in another environment with some people they don't know, with tools they've never used. And then they come back with ideas that don't work right in your area. So we solve problems together as a team, less instruction. I don't, as our team, I say it's our instructing team does not spend the time to say, sit down at this desk. Okay, now this is X, Y, Z, D, D, D. We share ideas and go through the journey together. And that's how I find that we get better buy-in from the team, because the little light bulbs go off all day long as we are going through the motions of actually building the fence, from everything from how do we stage the truck? How do we get the material off of the truck? Or when should the material come off the truck? Should we talk to the homeowner? How do we lay out the job? Should we be laying out the job? And so we dissect all those pieces, but it's not really on a template that says, okay, step one, do this. We do have the Fast 5 template that we've been using here for a while with some serious success. It's really a roadmap. It's not a exact to-do list. It's a beautiful roadmap that allows your team to understand where the baseline is production for the day with a measurable time frame. And and actually you can change that time frame to the size of your project. So it's actually
that makes sense.
Very accurate. If you're 20 sections, you put 20 into the equation. If you're 19, whatever, and it'll give you down to the minute where you should be all throughout the day. We find that that's a very helpful tool to allow them to continue with the process that we share together. It's a reminder. It's 5 pages, laminated. It's graphical. It's super simple. If you give a team member all the script wrote out in words, paragraph 1, 2, 3, that's not going to happen. But you give them a chart with visuals that says this, and a flow. We find that that's very successful. So that's our academy installation side. And we have some phenomenal instructors helping us with that. Move forward. I got Jack Fencing on my hat right here, my boy Chris Gass, right down in Louisiana. But so for installation size, we've got James Blaisdell and Josh Rand. You guys know Cannon Johnson, Chris Steele, Alex Harris, Colin Shank, right? So we've got several guys, and we've even got some team members joining on the coaching side. Shane Canton is coming in on for our coaching team for the business side of it, right? Nice. So you've got the installation side, and then you've got the business side. So the installation side, we're going in the dirt, digging holes with you side by side. Heather and I are all over the country doing this, and then we have field instructors helping us. Right now, for 2023, we have trainings in every single month in well over a dozen, maybe 15 states right now already booked. We have March Madness going to be here in March, and then May Mayhem, like we did last year, they'll be here in Evansville. And then we have multiple private trainings. I'm trying to get an open one, public one in January around the Orlando area. I'm going to have a couple of days in between a couple of trainings at a private, and then NAFCA training. We participate in the NAFCA training, volunteer our time to go down there and coach and help train those that participate in NAFCA training. But between NAFCA and a private training down there, we have a couple of days. So you may see a pop-up, like little no warning, like, hey, we're building fence over here. But we are going to continue to fill that calendar all year. We got Fence Tech, obviously, in February. So that's going to eat up a piece of that. And then so that's the installation side. As far as the business coaching side, that looks like the biggest event is the retreat. The retreat is pretty much everything we puke out at you in a very unique, private, intimate type environment. Completely not what you would see at a convention hall and classroom setting with hundreds of people and a speaker. We're talking about a beautiful home, and we're literally in a room having real discussions. And this will be our 3rd retreat. And I believe the retreat is so important to the coaching, moving where we are today. I almost feel like everyone has to start at the retreat to get the best value out of the coaching. I really do. Because the coaching looks like it's it was supposed to be a weekly meeting, but actually it turns into several meetings during the week, phone calls, emails, or maybe nothing for a week because you're rocking and rolling, and then we check in 2 weeks. So
you're implementing.
As much as we thought it was going to be so structured, 12 o'clock on Wednesday, we're going to meet, they may need more than that. They may have a crisis on their hand. They need a team member to help fix that. So the coaching team has turned into like your resource, your own team members, right? So we've got dedicated people that work on the books that you can call. I mean, that's one of the biggest ones I think that we've seen.
Oh yeah.
Is bookkeeping, right? So we can talk about mentality and positivity and buy this tool and buy that tool and advertise here, but where the rubber meets the road is how are you tracking your finances in your QuickBooks? Because without that measurable data in QuickBooks, unfortunately, we don't know where we're like driving with duct tape on the windshield. We have no idea what's going on. Oftentimes, what a entrepreneur would tell us is not true. In other words, not because they're lying, but what they tell us is happening in their company, their volume, their profits, their margins, their overhead. It's not that.
Well, to your example earlier, I mean, that 7% overhead, I mean, you could look at that and go, no, that's that's not accurate. Until you dig into it, you're like, oh, okay, so you're not paying yourself for the use of the building where you normally would. So we do need to plug a number in there. You're not paying for the vehicle. You're not paying for the insurance.
Or they're actually, it's either not tracking it or they're actually not even doing it, right? So some guys are spending $0 on advertising or branding. I think they're two different things. $0 on that completely, and they're okay with that. They're like, well, I haven't needed to. Okay, well, you will need to if you're going to grow or even sustain, because the people around you are going to take hold of that, right? So even if you're used to, I've gotten away with it forever, never had to spend money. Just wait till a Joe Everest shows up in your neighborhood. Okay.
Right.
Now what are you going to do? Now you're way behind.
Well, and I mean, I saw it. We're going to get to questions here in just a minute, but I saw it pop up. Basically, like, what do you think 2023 is going to look like? I think that was the gist of the question. I think pretty much everyone's calling for a slowdown. Nothing crazy. Not the 2008 housing crisis. Not this. Not that. But a slowdown. I mean, the economy's been red hot for years and years. Hadn't been able to slow down. And I think there's some folks in the industry that haven't known an economy that isn't red hot. Right. And I think you see that in the comments in these Facebook groups. I don't advertise. I only word of mouth. And I'm 6 months out and all this stuff. It's like, well, okay. I think in this economy, if you don't find work, that's the anomaly. Like now you've got real problems because everyone finds work right now. It's just, but what happens when, using the car analogy, what happens if the foot comes off the gas as far as the economy goes and we slow down a little bit?
You're going to see it. It's going to get tighter. So, at the end of the day, the strong are going to get stronger. The lazy are going to be shining like a beacon. You won't really get away with being lazy and half-ass. You'll get driven out of the industry, right? In other words, your business will be squeezed out. Like you were okay with mediocrity before, average was okay because we were red hot and everybody was getting work. Yeah. What's going to happen is that's going to come down and the strong are going to get more precise, more dedicated, more aggressive. And they're going to take more of the market share and they're going to get stronger because they are strong to begin with. And then the weak are going to end up weeding themselves out. And this is what's going to happen is the industry is going to probably come back a little bit. And we're going to weed out some of the weaker ones that weren't dedicated to the craft. They weren't dedicated to the process. They weren't. It's actually a good thing, right? It's a natural cycle that we go through, and we're going to get some better quality industry leaders out of this. Is what's going to happen. Yep.
Yeah, it's going to separate. There will absolutely be a separation because and I think one of the differentiators is going to be customer service. I think you and I see that just when we deal with vendors right now. It's there's not a priority on customer service, right? Yes. They're in the same wheelhouse. They're saying, hey, we have so much business flooding in. We'll just cherry pick what we want. and you can do business with us or you can't. It's fine.
The ones that do amazing customer service right now are always in my mind because they stand out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if you were to say, hey, name me some people that are great customer service, I can name them right now because they are amazing. There's only a few of them. So they're different, which is a key thing to being successful in business, is to be different. And if that difference is you're more customer orientated than anybody else, that's a key difference that's going to be beneficial to you. You should pay attention to that. More than I'm the cheapest guy. The cheapest guy is not going to get you anywhere, ever. It's just never a good formula. It's not going to work.
Well, because, and you'll put up with it right now. You'll put up with it right now just because you're trying to, whatever it is, you're willing to put up with it just because there's not a lot of options. But wait for things to slow down. And then you have some more options, and then you start getting pickier. And I think we should apply that to our businesses. And our clients are seeing that as well. They're probably having a similar experience right now, right? In that if we are the ones that are customer service forward now, then we'll be top of mind later when the options get more plentiful.
Not wrong. You're not wrong. But the retreat is the catalyst event to the training. It's in January. It's the third year. We have maxed this one out. We've had people messaging, asking if they could sleep on the floor and eat cat food. No, they're like, just let me in the house. So we have the house, which is 21 rooms, all king suites. And then we have 5 other residences rented out for staff, sponsors, instructors, right? But the retreat is a unique environment where you're actually going to, the first night you arrive, we have a little welcoming party that evening. And then I wouldn't even call it a party, welcoming event. And then we hit the ground running at 5:30 a.m. basically Tuesday morning. This is not like you've ever seen where you go to a convention and you're like, hey, be here at 8 o'clock. We're going to start class 8:30. We're going to no. We're starting with getting the body right, the mind right, getting the morning going. We're going to have breakfast together. And then we go into a movie theater, which has a 9-foot screen and 60 movie chairs in it, right? And we're going to talk about the hard stuff, right? We're going to call each other out. We're going to break bread together. We've asked everyone, be okay with being vulnerable. Come knowing you'll be uncomfortable. That's when we learn.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Don't be shielded. Don't be prideful. We're closing the doors. The brothers and sisters are in this room are going to know you to a different level, but we're going to leave this room with a partnership that you can never imagine. Right. So we eat breakfast together. We're actually cooking in the house, and lunch together, cooking in the house, dinner together, cooking in the house, study again after dinner. Actually, we have a unique event planned for Tuesday night. And nobody knows this but Shawn King, not even my wife. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's going to happen behind closed doors for those people that want to participate. Like, one step further, if you want to go behind that door, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. But you're going to come out a different person, and we won't discuss. People are like, it's just, you get to take a leap of faith. Wednesday, same thing. And then we'll have the late night study session, building budgets and forecasts. That goes until wee hours in the morning. Again, we're starting at 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. Team building workout in the morning. And then Thursday night we actually going to break it down and have a band and a bar, and let's relax. You've gone through a damn near hell week, and we're going to cover everything you can imagine. The schedule is tight. I mean, we are covering everything from human resources to margins and your books, to Excel sheets, to hiring and firing and branding and advertising and selling. It's insane, the course structure we have now compared to what we had year one.
Sure.
And the amount of data we're going to squeeze in there. But what happens is all this stuff gets thrown at you fast. It's everything. And then when you get done with that, you're like, I really want to dive into the branding versus advertising thing again that you covered in 45 minutes. Yeah, we can spend 8 hours on that, right? So that's where the training, the coaching afterwards, we typically have people that say, okay, I want to get in the program where we're just going to go through all of those pieces together on whatever pace that they are at. And the nice thing is that we're growing our instructors outside of Shawn King so that we can get more people help.
Yeah.
I can't quite do enough Zoom meetings between digging holes and Zooming and driving. it's pretty intense, right? So,
I bet.
and then the other part of the journey that most people don't know that we are actually in right now is you come to the class and then you get content and then you go through coaching, which might be 9 months or 12 months. There's no contract, it's whatever works out for you. At the end of that cycle, you're not done. You actually go through another piece, which we got 7 guys doing now. They've actually been through the training for 12 months. Now they have to teach the training. And so when you go to learn something, you learn it and you study it. But when you have to teach that subject back, you learn it to a whole new level, which is what I learned in law enforcement when I became an instructor there. I thought I knew all the laws until I had to conduct a class and teach. Then I started knowing things that in minutes. So we have, Cannon and Josh and James and Shane and Alex and Chris Gass and Chris Steele. They're all conducting classes. They're all conducting 2 classes at this thing. And some of those classes are things that they haven't quite mastered yet by design. I'm like, this is what you're teaching. Why? Because you haven't nailed it yet.
Yeah.
Right? So you now have 2 months to nail that. And they're like, damn it, Shawn, why can't I teach this? I know this well. That's not the point. You need to be uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. Right. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because you know darn well there's going to be 60 of your peers looking at you. Now think about that for a minute. And they're paying money to be here. And you're going to have to own this subject that I've beat the dead horse on. Be right there standing next to you, but you're going to present that subject. So these guys are building PowerPoint presentations and covering content and send them to me. And I'm like, this is absolutely amazing. Like you're getting it. You understand. Like the conversations that we're having on that subject now are totally different in their business, in their own business.
Sure.
I thought they knew this. There was one of them that had a problem with QuickBooks. I said, we've covered this a couple of times. And he's, I know. So, well, guess what? You're teaching this. And he's like, what? I said, I'm going to make you get this.
Now you've got it.
This is how we enter jobs, and this is what we do with the income, and this is why it's deposit, and this is why it's liability, and this is why it's not income, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, so I gave him some analogies of war and tanks and all this stuff. And he's like, I get it now. Good, because you're getting ready to teach everybody exactly that, right? So that's the other part of the journey, which I think is amazing. And I think that allows us to help more people because as they do that, then they become experts in it. We get more experts. We get more people to train, share, teach. And then we get better at it, right? We have a couple of instructors that are coming that are AA player instructors that are not in our industry, like amazing, smart financial advisors coming. Get some guys. I'm so excited to have these guys in there because we're all going to learn so much from that, right? So that's the academy and the retreat and the coaching program as it stands today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's constantly evolving. Let me tell you what.
So the retreat sold out, but is the academy closed? Because I know you go through periods of you only take so many people, which makes sense because you only have so much bandwidth, right? Right now in the academy, is the academy open or closed?
The academy is closed until the retreat is over.
Okay.
We're going to take care of who we got.
Yep.
Typically at the retreat, they get first dibs on academy slots. So we're at this capacity level. Sure. After the retreat, we're going to have after the retreat, after our instructors go through their presentations and we see exactly where they are in those pieces, I have all the confidence they're going to own it and kill it. Every one of them are. And so if that's the case, now we can open up the bandwidth because their next part of the journey is to coach that on a weekly basis, right? With everyone. So we can probably go from 10 people in the academy to 40 people in the academy.
Sure. Yeah, you have more bandwidth.
Now we have more bandwidth, and they can do. They all have a different piece. We got 8-9 instructors total. We can really cover some subjects and take care of people in the field and hold them accountable to that data. And that's Joe. You know what the real thing here is accountability. That's what it all comes down to. Yeah. Most of this content's available out there. You can go study it, find it, figure it out yourself. We all need that accountability coach, that person, somebody that's going to tell you that, guess what? You haven't learned it yet, so you're going to teach it at the retreat. What? Yeah. Somebody's going to hold you accountable, right?
Sure. Well, and I think that applies in all aspects of the business is accountability, right? That's one thing that we're spending some time talking about here is that, okay, so who is accountable for what? You know, because once people have accountability and they know, well, now all of a sudden it changes the mentality altogether that we know who is accountable for what and who. Too often, I think we give broad accountability, right? We're like, well, this department is accountable for this. Well, the department has how many people in it? They're like, well, that's probably not me. That's probably so-and-so who's also in the department. No, accountability is everything. It really is.
One last thing on the retreat
Yeah.
is that we have started working on a second one.
Okay.
In 2023. So
Nice.
the 2024 one is already being planned now, but we're going to sneak in another one, I think in August on the West Coast, somewhere around, I think, FWA show. It makes sense if we're going to be out there anyways. We're going to be at FWA. We haven't helped the West Coast. Potentially, we may have that the week before or the week after FWA.
Nice.
We're trying to figure that logistically out so we can find a house big enough out there. But we are cognizant of the fact that the retreat is the biggest piece to moving the needle forward.
Yeah.
So this year I'll probably have 2. The next year I'll probably have, don't tell Heather I said this. This is between us only on here. I have 4 in 2024. Shh, don't tell Heather.
All right. If she comes blowing through the door.
Right. I'm looking because if she's out there, we had to move offices. She was in my office right there. She took over the office next door. She's like, I can't even be in. You're on the phone or you're Zooming the entire time. Who could work next to you?
So someone wanted to reach out, Shawn, about the academy. How would they do so? Just, is there like a waiting list for the academy, or how does that work?
So typically that request comes through our info requests on our website.
Okay.
I get people requesting through our Mr. Fence website, like our Go Mr. Fence. It comes to the info line there. We got MrFenceAcademy.com info line. Messenger, my cell phone number is out there everywhere. I had a guy called me this morning on my cell phone. That happens all the time. Shawn, how do I get an academy? I don't know. And then we talk about it. So we're very, very reachable. Heather at GoMrFence.com, Shawn at GoMrFence.com. It's really easy to find us. Facebook Messenger requests are easy. You got Mr. Fence Academy as a Facebook page, Mr. Fence Tools as a Facebook page, Mr. Fence Tools as an info page for the request. What we've done with all these requests, we have a jot form that I've created. It's a really simple jot form. And so when someone asks for info, I send them a jot form link, and it's a questionnaire about, 15 questions.
Sure.
What is it you're looking for specifically? Tell me a little bit about who you are, where you're at. And they live in that jot form. So they fill it out and they sit there. And then when we have a few moments, because we are literally on fire or have an event come up, I go to the jot form and I'm like, oh, there's 4 guys in Florida that are looking for installation training. Well, that's a good start. Let's contact those 4 and start that. Or maybe we have a spot open up, XYZ at an event, and we go to that list first. That's our waiting list you asked about.
Yep.
We go there first and look through and say who was looking for installation training, who was looking for coaching, who was looking for retreat, and then contact them back. So that's our organization. You want to be on the jot form in there if you're interested, because that's our go-to first. We had one spot open up at the retreat. A gentleman had paid, but his mom got very sick and couldn't make it. So he had to back out. We went to the jot form, found the next person, and I said, you don't have to eat cat food, sleep on the floor. There's a king sleep.
So we dropped the link in the comments, guys. MrFenceAcademy.com. There's an info. There's like a contact us type form there where they can reach out to you and get on the drop form.
Yep.
Very good. Let's go through the comments real quick, because I know some people have been patiently waiting, but I do want to talk to you about tools. I saw a question just come through on tools. So, all right, but let's get through. Let's say hello to a few folks. You're already in trouble, though.
No, Rachel.
Kenny Dugan down in Texas says, Shawn and Joe, do you guys do trainings yourselves to elevate what you have to offer? Absolutely. Right. So Kenny this is kind of like a soft toss question here. So Kenny was actually up at our event in Springfield, but you participate in free events as well. Right.
That's right.
So you talked about the NAFCA event. You talked about, you do free trainings as well. We were really just talking about the Mr. Fence Academy, which would be a paid scenario, but absolutely.
And I'd like to do a few more free ones. I'm trying to roll that around my head. I would love to help anyone that can't afford to go to the training, right? That's the reality. That's who I am. Like, let me help you, right? If you really are dedicated. What I don't feel like is the people that can and should pay for it, And let's help those
as able sort of thing.
Right. Let's help those that cannot. So NAFCA, if AFA wanted to do something with us, we would be interested in that. FWA, obviously, we would like to help them as well.
Sure.
But my Shawn King, Take Care of Your Team Plus One.
Yeah.
That I really want to put on a free training and open it up here. Again, I got to talk to Heather about that. She probably on board. But I think there's value in giving back to your team and those around you, your industry.
Right.
So yes, absolutely. Stain and Seal. I did that event with them. Wouldn't mind doing another one with them. Absolutely.
Yeah. Getting the answer is yes, absolutely. Let's see. So JC Fence is dropping some knowledge in here. So we've got another one coming. I'm going in reverse order at the moment. Check out Flowchart Life. There's a question on.
Write that down.
Yeah, he talks about traction here in a minute too, which is kind of the conversation when we're talking about management training. Traction. I've heard him talk on Dan Wheeler's podcast about traction. I want to get into that. There was a question as to someone said this should be on a podcast. It is on a podcast. You can check. You can search the Fence Expert podcast pretty much anywhere. We dropped the Apple link in the comment section on the Facebook page, on the Facebook video. So if you search the Fence Expert on these podcast platforms, we're probably there. Braden and Jeremy have us just about everywhere. So this is when we're talking about positivity. If you say you're going to have a great day or a bad day, either way, you're right.
You're right.
It's a fulfilling prophecy.
You're right.
When you buy a red car, you start seeing red cars.
That's right.
Because it's on your mind. You just start picking it out. Out of thousands of cars you'll see in a day, you remember the red car, right?
Yep.
Let's see. Scan up a little bit. Robert Looker says, hey, how's it going, Fence fam? Hello, Robert. And then Robert was talking about he wished we had a podcast. Wish, and it will come true. There is already a podcast. This is it. So JC Fence was saying Traction by Gino Wickman is a wonderful, wonderful help in office management help. Great read. I've heard this is like the second or third time I've heard Traction come up. So I'm going to check it out.
I took note, JC Fence. I took note.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mark says, hey, Joe, how you doing today, brother? Doing well. Fence Monster checking in from Ohio. I love that. Fence Monster. What's up, Mark? Matt's got a great point here. Success versus value. We need to understand the difference in what it means.
Yes. Yeah. Impact over income is something I recently heard from a motivational speaker that I was at. And I'm changing a lot of how I talk about what we're doing in the academy recently over his presentation. Yeah. But I've always believed in value is the number one piece, Matt. I believe value is the key. But stop chasing the dollar and start looking at, success is all first, it's two different things. And we're not measuring the dollars. We're measuring the impact you're making in people's lives, your community lives, your customers' lives. When you just start quantifying and focusing on the impact that you're delivering, the money actually comes in, just flows right in, right? Yeah. We focus on the dollars, we lose track of the impact. If we lose track of the impact, then we lose value.
Yep. Well, and that's the thing is because when you're in these Facebook groups looking at people try to compare and contrast companies, it's always top line revenue. Well, we did this much this year. Well, congrats, I guess. But that just means how much you sold, right? Doesn't mean how well it was put in. Doesn't mean what to the point here, right? Doesn't the value that you provided to your team, to your community, impact. It doesn't talk to any of that. And so we almost need to develop like a new ruler, right? If we're going to compare revenue, top line revenue is not it.
It's at lowest common denominator. It's like anything you're going to compare. We were talking about installation. We have to have the parameters equal to compare two things alike. Otherwise, apples and oranges. So what are we comparing?
That's it. Kmart and Sears both made tons of revenue.
Yeah.
Where are they at? Right. They ultimately faded off into the sunset. They made a ton of money. They just didn't spend it very well.
Yeah. Impact, key.
Divine Fence is reminding us to smash the like and other positive affirmations. That's right. Now, Shawn, did you know Facebook now isn't tracking how many likes you get on anything?
I heard you say that.
Yep.
And then so I made the habit of trying to hit the emoji smile button instead. Bingo. But tell me why in live videos when I do that, it has an angry face every time.
Oh.
Yeah. That's why, because every time I hit that smiley face, the angry face comes up. I'm like, no, that's not what I meant. That's not what I meant. That's not what I meant.
Undo. I don't know.
Miserably. So if I was on your live video and you're live and I'm angry face, I don't know why I'm doing that.
Okay, we now know Shawn's not totally upset with us. So
no.
Good information to have. Rachel earlier said, good morning. It's good to see a couple of my favorite people. Thank you, Rachel.
Morning, Rachel. I might see you soon, Rachel, first week of January, if you're going to be in town.
Absolutely. So Shawn totally butchered that, and I know it. I think you two need to have a fence off. The fence expert versus Mr. Fence, and it is a PPV event.
Pay-per-view event.
I don't know about that. Better together sort of thing. But I wanted to bring this up because you are hosting some competition.
Vince Games is coming. We actually just had our meeting with the AFA on Thursday last week. Saturday. Michael Reed and I finalized. So that's the first Vince Games event. It's going to happen at Vince Tech.
Nice.
Hasn't been a whole lot advertised about it yet. We're trying to get the sponsorship behind the scenes good and ready to rock. Now we have that, and we have the blessing of the AFA and how we're going to run it, who's doing what. Because this is a co-event. We're putting on the event. AFA is hosting the event, right? So there'll be more than one event throughout the year, and I can't name the sponsor just yet, but them getting behind us is going to allow us to get this thing to your backyard anywhere in the country and give you the ability to participate anywhere in the country. I know.
I like it.
Right now.
I like it.
It's coming.
All right. I am Drewski says he's cocked and loaded, ready to go. Good deal. Jeremy is joining us. Good morning, Fence fam. Good morning. So I'm not going to try to butcher the name again, but I've never caught the opening song before. It's Hot Fire. That's because last week was the first week. It's Matt here. If you watch the show, you know Matt. He's done the opening song, and it is incredible.
Nice.
Finch Genius says, good morning, all from Washington State. Good morning, Finch Genius. Drew Bishop is also cocked and loaded, ready to go. Very good. Stevie Boy Billings is with us, 4 p.m. in Dublin. Good afternoon, Stevie Boy. Tail End Fencing says, good morning, Fence fam. Tail End Fencing's in the house. Good morning. I believe you know this fellow. Aloha Fence, Mr. Rand. Aloha from Heber City. Let's go.
He got a present last night.
Hey, there you go. All right, so let's scroll back down to the bottom. Stitch says, remember you guys talking about doing 4 squares or something like that where you have a handout for neighbors? Okay, the 5 rounds. Any good resources for putting something like that together? Absolutely. So it's I'll tell you how we do it, then I'd like to hear how Shawn does as well. So ours is basically it's a door hanger that says, hey, we're going to be in your neighborhood. Now we're going to park on the side of the road, so we might be in your way. We observe in residential projects, we observe normal business hours, right? We're not going to start jackhammers at 6 a.m, but we're going to make some noise. And we're going to try to find your neighborhood better than we left it. But if we're in your way, please let us know. We'd be happy to move. If we can be of service, please let us know. And if you see something that you think I should know about, please reach out to me directly with my name, the phone number, and all that stuff. We do those. So we're kind of changing. The crew, when they showed up, was doing those. But that doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Because they're already there and they're already in the way. They're already making noise. So Sarah and I do a project walkthrough typically the week before we go out there and install the fence. So we're each going to take a stack and kind of go separate ways and just start hanging them all over the place.
Much better idea. The project coordinator piece has been a game changer for our company. An absolute game changer.
Well, and one thing we're going to start doing too. So typically the crew would put the yard sign in the yard when they get there. All right. Well, and now I understand in today's modern day of GPS, you can typically drive right up to the house. Sometimes that doesn't happen, right? Sometimes the GPS is off a little bit. So during the project walkthrough, we're also placing the sign in the front yard. That way, when the crew drives up, they can zone in on the bright orange sign.
That's a fantastic improvement on putting it the day of and the day after. We actually, for a couple of years now, have a different sign.
Okay.
Mr. Fence coming soon. an amazing product on the day of the sale. So sometimes it'll live there for 3 or 4 weeks, brand new, before we even get there, right?
Yeah.
As well as the flags that we put on the sales call, not just the project coordinator call, everywhere. And the flags say, Mr. Fence, and they're bright blue, but they say, stand by, something amazing is about to happen. Because they all ask, what's happening? What are you guys doing? What are you doing? And every one of the flags says, stand by, something amazing going to happen. So we have coming soon signs, and then we replace those with the Mr. Fence sign when we're done. Yeah.
Yep. I like it. Do you catch any flack about them being blue with water department?
People, around here are like, that's what I said. Well, the water department didn't ask me before they picked blue. I'm blue. All right.
Fair.
So sewer uses green. I mean, water typically is not marked. Very, very, very rare. I can't even tell you the last time I had a water line marked, right? Because our meters are out by the road. So it's such an anomaly that it's ever marked anyways.
Yeah. It's in the backyard.
There's never been a conflicting, like, blue is really the only color we probably, besides for the white, we can only get away with in the backyard, because there are every other color out there.
Well, that's the thing, is we couldn't do orange.
Nope.
That wouldn't fly, because communications is everywhere in the backyard.
And you wouldn't stand out. I don't think that would be good.
Yeah, we ended up doing white for excavation, proposed excavation, right? So white flag with an orange logo on it with Ozark fence. That's kind of our compromise.
I think that would work very well.
But I like bright blue. I like bright blue. But yeah, so when they're doing 5 rounds, typically they would do, all right, so if you're picturing a house in a standard neighborhood, there's typically across the street is 1, their 2 neighbors is 3, and then the 2 neighbors to the house you're doing is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 rounds. But we're gonna try to take that a step further, and maybe not the whole neighborhood gets door hangers, but at least up and down the street do. But because the trucks aren't small, it's so we use a little bit different trucks than you do. So ours are 1 tons with a 20-foot trailer, so a little bit different, but they still get in the way, right? They're still in the way. Stitch says, also interested in the sheets that you give out telling people you're going to be parking in their way. That is the door hanger. So let's do this. Next week, I'll probably bring a door hanger on, and we'll talk about what's on it and that sort of thing.
Thought I had one hand.
Kenny said, rewording my question, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. Fair. Are you continuing your Are you continuing your education to offer more to those that you're mentoring? Love what you guys do. Understood. Yes. Got it. Understood.
I just watched a guy speak, several people speak. Let's be honest. I had the opportunity to listen to some super intelligent guys speak, and I was mesmerized. The more that I start to learn, the more I realize what I don't know, and the more I want to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, I thought I wanted to know this stuff before. Now I'm watching them on stage, hanging on every single word, and like, oh my God, that makes sense.
Yeah, for us, like, I love marketing, and that's kind of what we talk about a lot on here. So we go to social media marketing world every year. It doesn't hurt that it's out in San Diego in the late winter, early spring. But yeah, so that's something that, and this year we're taking a pretty big team. Braden, Jeremy, and Sarah and I are all going to go out, and then we'll do the educational content at like AFA. So we'll be there early for some of the educational training, that sort of thing. Also, I just lost it. So there is a like a video platform. What's it called? Masterclass. That me and the team we have a group account for. So Masterclass it's got basically like the who's who of each area of either personal or professional development. They do like a 30 or 45 minute talk on there. So something we like doing. Stitch says, I was excited to put some of that knowledge into action, but got lost staring at a blank screen. Uh-oh. I'm not sure. Okay. Stitch says that would be great. So I'll bring it on. I'll bring the door hanger on next week, and we'll talk about just what's on it. It's Nick says, much love from Ireland, as always, Joe. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate that. We know this guy, Brian Frederickson. What is up? What's up, Brian? Mr. FWA himself.
We're just talking about him.
Absolutely. So it actually, we're talking about the show right before we started here, the FWA show. So it's in August there in Vegas. It's 2 weeks before so we're going to be in Vegas for my 40th. So me and a couple buddies, our birthdays are all kind of right around the same time. And so the gals all got together like, you know, it'd be fun. Let's take the guys to Vegas for their 40th. So that's what we're doing. And it's like 2 weeks after the FWA event. I was like, listen, it's been about 8 years since I've been to Vegas, and it just starts feeling right to go back. Like, I don't know if 2 weeks is going to be enough time to properly recuperate. But since it's a fence show, we'll probably not get as crazy. What's up, Brian? Yeah. Let's talk about some tools. Okay. Let's talk about tools, because that's something else you guys do very well. And guys understand. So
that's what we started.
This isn't like a sponsored video, right? I kind of set the agenda. So Shawn had reached out like, hey, what are we going to talk about? Like, I want to talk about ongoing training because I think it's important and it's something that you excel at. And I want to talk about tools, investing in tools to increase efficiency and productivity, and because it's also something you excel at. So
fair enough. So tools, my son Colin and his significant other Ashley, my mom, and Heather are very busy every single day moving out tools. If you saw the live video recently, we did a little quick tour.
Yeah.
Now,
there's some shenanigans going on.
There's that too in the scooter. But for those of you guys that have been with us for more than 3 years or so, would probably know that we started on a shelf at Mr. Fence in the loft. That's kind of, where the tool thing was. You would go up there, you might package a tool every so often and send it out. Like it was a tool sale. To now that we have that 10,000 square foot facility with people that are there constantly. And now we have to pay attention to inventory, and we have a process on how to box it up and make it. Now we have to have processes and procedures on how to make the tools. No longer is it Shawn making them. Now we have multiple people over there working, making the tools. So what a fantastic journey, and knowing that every one of those tools is making a significant difference in our industry with those people that are using them. I can confidently say we are given messages all the time about how much that tool has changed their world. I mean, just out of the blue messages. Like, I just want you to know, I wasn't really a big believer. I bought one, and oh my God, what an amazing tool. And I just feed off that. I'm like, that's great. Those are just in my inbox. Like, that's great. So that leads us to want to make better tools and improve the tools that we currently have. So the newest one that just came out is the Buddy Picket, and it got shipped out this week to a lot of people. That
was actually the question that came up.
Oh, is it? Okay. So the Buddy Pickets, it's an add-on tool to the straightaway. We've been using the straightaway since 1993 with a wood Buddy Picket attached to it that we would just make and keep on the truck forever.
Sure.
It has, a few issues with the wood picket, but it was free. It was scrap, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But as we become more and more professional, people are like, you don't have something to hold the other end of that up. No, you just use a scrap piece of wood.
Use a picket. You've got a bunch of them.
Right. And I just show them how to do it. And then people are using it the wrong way. Like, they're literally nailing a picket up on every single post and then using it straight away. I'm like, no, that's completely defeating the purpose. Right. Absolutely. No.
Right.
So, and then the more people use it, we find that some people are still bumping it, even though it's heavy, and moving it up. So my brain went, how do I hold it down without using a bolt and a screw and a clamp and magnet? So we have a magnet in the top of that thing that just holds that straight away from that little extra force, so it doesn't move up. And then the straightaway or the Buddy Picket's made to fit your review. And for those of you guys that because we don't use a level to run pickets, so you gotta have somewhere to put the level. So it's got a little level holder on it to hold it there for you, so you know where it is the whole time.
Nice.
You can use it if you feel necessary, but it's cute. It's got a little level, and it holds on there very well. And because of the width of it, this is something I learned after we built the tool. I wasn't really expecting. Normally, the cheater picket, we used to call it, was about it was a full picket, and the block of wood on the back was 5 inches wide. So that 5-inch piece was sitting on an angled 2x4. It would follow the grade. The picket would go to diagonal, which made the top change direction just a little bit.
Yeah,
which would make your reveal move just a touch.
Sure.
The Buddy Picket 1/2 inch thick, that problem that's gone.
That makes sense.
No longer have that problem. So our reveal is even more accurate than it ever was with the cheater picket.
Sure.
And then I guess the coolest part is it's blue. Who doesn't want a blue tool?
I mean, it's
Anyone?
debatable.
We can make you an orange one.
I know.
We have a guy that wants us to make him purple tools, Colby, and we're actually looking. This is so cool having this business grow like it is. We're looking into buying our own powder coater.
Nice.
Get our own powder coater. Then I'm torn with the fact that I love my blue tools out there everywhere. But, wouldn't it be nice if Joe Everest, if all of your tools were powder coated orange, your thumpers and your straightaways and your X-Men's, and they were all neon orange?
Yep.
Well, maybe that's a service we'll be able to provide.
Nice.
Again, right?
Yeah. Well, you see that in other areas, right? You have a base color. Like right now, we're back to looking at trucks. You got base color, and if you want other colors, they're available. Now it's an upcharge because they got to change the process around and all that. So I think you see that elsewhere. Totally normal.
But the tools is where we started. And so I told someone this the other day, it kind of makes sense. They're like, how did you start the academy and why? So the tools have been there to fill a need and help installers be more accurate, easier, and decrease stress. And the academy came along because we have the tools you want, and now we have the methods to teach you how to use those tools, because those tools aren't necessarily, oftentimes I find people that can figure out how to use it, but not to its fullest potential. That Thrive thing again.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know it did that too. Oh, I didn't know it did oh my God. I thought it just did this.
Well, perfect example was we did a video with the equalizer because I bought it and I liked it. And I was like, I'm going to show the world how to use this thing because this is a slick piece of equipment here. There's a slick tool here. And then I called you and I was like, hey, I forget. We were talking about something totally different. And I told you how I use it. And you're like, oh, whoa.
Nope.
Wait. What? No. That's not. You can actually use it better. You can do it. Like, okay. Well, this has been working for us for this long, but now we can use it even more efficiently, right? And okay, well, reshoot the video. We're gonna show the totally proper way of using this thing.
It's so true. It's so true. All these tools, and we try to give QR codes and videos. Sure. And I've had people tell me I watched the video, and then when I'm coaching them in person, they're like, what? I said, it's on the video. Yeah, but it didn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to put your hands on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to have hands-on training to figure some things out. JC Finn said, we started using the equalizer this season. We absolutely love it. It's
sweet.
It's such a great tool. It really
I gotta give props to Cannon Johnson right now. Jackson Fence. You guys know who he is, right? My Fence Laugh superstar guy's funny as hell. I gotta give props to him because he's been in the academy since the beginning, growing exponentially. But he didn't really. He bought tools for the guys several times, but never really made them use the tool. I got to tell you, it blew my mind when he went to the shopping cart and bought the equalizers for this year. Never sold that many equalizers at one time. I think it was well over 30 equalizers. He said, we're going to have them on every single truck, and not just one, but like every size, multiple lengths. I'm done fooling around with this. I'm going all in.
Nice.
I couldn't believe it, but I thought, wow, he's going to see a difference when he fully commits. That's us. That's how we do it every day.
Yeah.
But we've just gotten used to it over the years. I don't even know how else not to do it. Right. So
sure.
Cannon Johnson killed it. Ordered a truckload. So damn near a truckload. Corey's down. Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. Chin Sun said, thanks for the info. You're very welcome. Yeah. Corey Bigelow is here. Different colors would be nice to keep crews from stealing each other's tools. Not a bad idea.
It's not okay. Yeah.
I love the QR code to teach you guys in the field when they forget. Here's the funny thing. So QR codes pre-pandemic, people were like, what? Like some people figured QR codes out, but post-pandemic, now every restaurant on earth has their menu on QR codes. The restaurant industry has single-handedly brought people into the QR code era. But now everybody knows how to use them. So the points, Corey's points make sense.
Without a doubt.
So Shawn, what's your favorite tool? If you had to pick one.
Equalizer. Hands down.
Yeah.
Hands down. There's no other tool that does anything like that. None.
Nice. Yeah.
Because it's just such it's such a difference from a tape measure and paint and a mat. It's just it's so different.
Yeah.
In a straightaway, I get it. You can use a string line. If Dan Wheeler's on here, he's going to go string line to death. Well, until I get a hold of him, he's coming to the retreat. He's going to see the straightaway. He's going to change his world. But he's right. I get it. Okay, you can do that. But the equalizer, man, if you can do what in 30 seconds, what takes people several minutes.
Sure. Well, that's the demonstration you do, right? So that at Sanding University a couple years ago, that's the exact demonstration was, hey, let's get a guy. You grabbed a guy that had a lot of fence experience, has built a ton of fence. All right, you've got the 100-yard tape or whatever, and you've got all of what you need. And now we've got two guys, and then he timed it, right? And now we've got two guys that haven't used the tool that really I think they were staining guys, haven't really built fence. Let's have you do it. And let's just compare, right? And they just like a third of the time or something like that.
So that was, it's very, it wasn't the fact that I was faster than him because it's my tool, right? So,
sure.
Okay. So, we had Mike Moore, and I can't forget the other guy, but Mike Moore is no rookie in our industry. Okay. Mike Moore knows his stuff in commercial world for sure. Right.
Yeah.
And so he was a trooper, and he took it on, knowing that this is a setup. Like, I'm not going to beat you. Right. he thought he gave it a shot, but him and another guy, and they laid it all out. It took him over almost 3 minutes. It was like 2 minutes and 50 seconds, something like that.
Sure.
But you got two people, so you got to double it because it's all right. So it's double people.
Man hours.
Yep. 5 minutes. And I was done in 29 seconds. And theirs was inaccurate. Now, granted, they're pressured because there's 100 people watching them do this. So you got to be fair. Like, I'm sure that's stressful. But it still was 29 seconds to compare to and that's 5 minutes and 29 seconds. That's like 10 times faster, right? So, but here's the key is that we gave the equalizer to them that never used it before, ever.
Uh-huh. And
the first time he ever used it, 31 seconds. So I've been using it since 2004, and I'm at 29. So what I'm saying is the learning curve is what? Like nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Hardly anything.
31 seconds compared to my 29. So that I think is very key. It's a very teachable tool. Well,
and you can put it in the hands of someone who's never used it. And talking about bringing on people with no experience, you can put it in their hands. And after a few times of walking them through how to use it, it's intuitive. You absolutely understand it. Hey, how many poses you have? Pick that tab, start walking that way.
And if you do it like that, Joe, because that's the best way, you will not have a problem. Some guys have seen me. It's my fault. I've showed them how you can just pull, get the closest tag and go. And sometimes my pool is different than your pool, and there might be one extra post in there. But if all of our contracts, all of our work orders for our team members say 12, 10, 9, all that is the number of sections, right? So per line of fence. Yeah. They just grab that number tag and walk. And when you get there that's it. It's perfect.
There you are.
You can't mess it up. So, it's a very intuitive, very valuable tool. I think that's my number one tool because it works across the board.
Yep, I would agree. If you only had to buy one, and that's probably, if your guys were to track out your buying journey, I bet that's where a lot of the buying journeys start is with the equalizer.
We sell, equalizers every single day. No other tool like that, right? So, it normally starts with equalizer. And then grows from there.
Sure. Makes sense. Corey's got a good question. Are you selling a recording of the retreat? Wish we could have made it work, but I know it's going to be great.
So that is a very common request we get, right? How do we help others? So though it's not guaranteed, I believe that we are tracking on accomplishing a live feed for the class section of the retreat, right? So it'll be from 8 a.m. until 5 for 3 days, paid subscription live feed where you'll be able to watch it there. Now we are recording it all. We have all that recorded from last year and the year before. We're using those recordings for people that are in the academy, that are in the retreat or in the academy now for coaching. We don't want to put it just open and now available for free because there's people paying money to be there. That's not fair. Sure. Right.
Well, so, and I'll just tell you what social media marketing world does. So they've got kind of 3 tiers. So you've got the paid in person, which you get the most value from because then you get to interact during Q&As. You get to be in a seat. I think people learn more if they're actually involved in the conversation. You've got the live feed, so what you're talking about for a lesser fee, but then also you can do a paid recording. But it's like the paid recording, I think, goes out like 2 months later or something like that. So, but for people that can't make it, they can still and can't for whatever. So, like in my situation, like I'm always in Tulsa for the Tulsa Shootout. It's something me and the guys have done since we were in high school. Like it's just my time where I can see the guys once a year, sort of thing. But so if someone had something like that where you can't tune into the live and you can't, but you still want to invest in some educational content, maybe now, and maybe you delay it a couple months. So you say, hey, if you want to be in the room, be part of the conversation and have current, here's one tier for that. But if you're willing to wait, and I don't know,
I like it.
You might be able to spread the net a little bit further, so to speak.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's very good.
Eleanor has a question. What tool are you talking about? I'm building a panel fence. How did I get here in this chat? I don't know, but I'm sure glad you're here.
How did you get here in this chat?
Yeah, that's I don't know. But we appreciate you being here all the same. Braden, can you put like the Mr. Fence Tools URL in the chat? So I'll bring that up here in just a second. So Mr. Fence Tools, right? So you guys have, I mean, how many tools are there total? I mean, you probably have a count on that, right?
I think that we're at actually losing track. I think we're 13 or 14 that are completely designed, trademarked by us, and built by us. But we have a lot of tools on our site that are not just ours. They're ones that we believe in, right? So there's quite a few on there. And,
a lot.
and material.
A lot. Very good. And so we threw it in the chat. MrFenceTools.com is where you will find the tools.
That's awesome. Thank you.
Fence Genius, very well. Fence Genius says Equalizer is an awesome and intuitive on-site tool. It really is. The first time you use it, it clicks. You're like, oh, so this tells you exactly where each post is going to go.
Yep.
Fantastic. Like it's very easy to use, and which means your teams are more likely to adopt it, right? And they're more likely to sign on. Because part of this now, could we say like Iron Fist, this is going to happen? Sure. But
get the impact.
No. If your team's adopted, if they buy in, if they intuitively click onto exactly what it does when it does it, it's just going to have a greater impact. Right. Speaking on impact. You're
absolutely right. No doubt. No doubt. So the one thing I do want to mention, I think it's kind of cool, is at the retreat, because we were just talking about the live feed and getting it back out there. Yes, it's completely packed, but this year we have some industry leaders that are sponsoring with us, and we'll have content there as well.
Nice.
Company Cam, which I strongly believe in.
Oh
right? Been using that product since 2016. They're a sponsor at the retreat. Fence Armor. We all know Al at Fence Armor.
Martin.
Right? Signature Series, fantastic product. Active Yards, who we live and breathe here, is green Active Yards. They're going to be at the retreat. And who doesn't know Super Sam.com, right? You just say Super Sam, you know who I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yep. Some, and then of course, my salesman has been instrumental in I'm running our business, right? And they participate in the retreat and be a sponsor. So that's fantastic that they believe in us that much. ArcSite, we're working with ArcSite right now. They're going to be at the retreat and offering content. And then one of the coolest ones that I've most recently met and got to know, Job Nimbus.
Yep.
So what an amazing group of people, right? So I don't know the product inside and out because I haven't used it on a day-to-day basis. But most recently I got to meet Ben and the other original Mark Olson, and but not just those two, but the entire team, right? So Olson, all of them. And what I've found is they fit right along with Matt and Rachel as far as culture, as far as people, and as far as so all of our sponsors believe in that all the way through. And what a great fit to have a company that's that dedicated to making you superheroes, right? But they believe in the culture so much. So so they're a proud sponsor, as well as Sunlight Financial, which kind of comes along with Job Nimbus. What an amazing program. So what a difference that we have them involved. It's kind of like trust, and it kind of vets what we're doing. Like, wow, we have these big names behind us that are saying, I want to be part of that, and we powered by, so I'm blessed to have that with us.
Sounds like a powerhouse lineup.
Yep.
Divine Fence says, I remember that equalizer challenge. Me and my sister were there and saw that. We bought them right after. Absolutely. All you got to do is see the demonstration once and you get it. And then they say, as well as many other tools, can't go wrong with Mr. Fence tools.
I love it. Thank you.
Completely agree.
That's awesome. Killed it.
Well, Shawn, we have successfully blown straight through the hour. We're at about an hour and a half. So we might start landing the plane here in just a minute.
Fair enough.
So is there anything we haven't covered yet? We talked about the importance of training, that you guys offer training. We talked about the importance of tools, that you guys offer tools. Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it really is, it's pretty simple.
Okay.
Tools, training, equipment, all that is fantastic. But the first step is to accept, acknowledge, believe in your team, and understand that is the number one resource. We can't sell you a team member. I cannot do that.
Yep.
I really can't even take an existing team member and turn them necessarily into a superstar ourselves. Yep. That needs to be done within you guys as a team. So what I want to say is, believe me when I tell you the number one resource you have is your team members, and it'll be greater than any tool or any training you can get from us. We'll be second to that. Sure. Invest into your team and understand that they take care of your team plus one. It's not a joke. I really mean like take care of yourself first, get your mind right, get physically right. You need to be in your best shape to offer your best service, and then take care of your team. Literally, whatever it might mean, have a conversation with them. It might mean hold them accountable. It might mean just listen sometimes, and it might mean focus on what they're doing and decrease their stress. And then when you do all that, you're not done. You need to go take care of somebody else. Something, somewhere, somehow, every single day, everywhere. We see when we do the big things, give away all the turkeys or give away the food or give away meat to the Christmas. That's great. But what are you doing every single day that is outside of you and your team? We all need to do that. And I think if we do that as a whole, naturally, the whole profession will start to move in the right direction because of the positivity that comes with that. It has nothing to do with building fence. It's everything to do with just trying to find the right thing to do. It could be helping a lady across the street. I don't know. Yeah. It doesn't need to be massive. I love what you say. Done is better than perfect. Sure. Don't wait for the perfect opportunity to get into a non-for-profit and do this big old should-do. Yeah. Just go do something right extra every single day. That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of, so I think that's a fair point, because maybe some people look at what some of us are doing in the community saying, well, I'm not there yet. I'd love to be there one day, but I'm not there yet. We didn't start out doing this, right?
And we don't do it every day like that. I don't give away lots of money every day.
Right.
But every day I'm looking for a way to move the needle in somebody's world. That impact over income, I'm stealing that. That is amazing. So what are you doing to leave an impact and a legacy behind?
Well, that's the thing, is when we couldn't afford that, like, we volunteered, right? We've got a local organization just called One Sole Purpose. So we provide shoes for kids in high-risk situations that wouldn't normally have shoes, right? You'd think shoes are such a basic thing that you would be surprised, right? Kids walk in flip-flops on snow days and stuff like that. So, but we didn't have funds. We didn't have 5 figures to give out, but I had some time, right? And so it's and I'm not going to get religious here, but in church right now, we're talking about being giving of time, talents, and treasures, right? And you don't have to necessarily do all three, right? So you can volunteer in a way that uses your talents, right? So you can, in church, I volunteer at the live stream team. Go figure, right? So that's just something I know and I can do. So you don't necessarily have to give of your treasure. Now, if you can, that's certainly impactful, but you could give your time and your talents and be just as impactful.
I wrote that down because that's fantastic. The 3 T's, 3 C's. I've got my world. The 3 T's now. I've got my world. Yep. I like it. Time, talent, and treasures.
And treasure. Yep. Yeah. You don't necessarily have to write checks. So, and I would argue that writing checks is kind of
Easy way out.
That's right. It's the easy
Right.
button.
Let's call it like it is. It's the easy button. Okay.
That's right. That's right. So,
no,
I mean, you can have an impact, but the biggest thing is you need to help build your community, right? And you can view this two ways. So one, if you want to view it purely from an analytical business standpoint, like what is my return? Well, guess what? A stronger, more healthy community is better for you as a business. Now, It's not a tomorrow thing. It's I've got a son and I want him, and I've got daughters too. I don't want to, okay. So I've got kids and I want the community to be stronger when they come into the business than how I found it, purely analytical. But we also live in this community, right? So it also behooves us as people to make it better than we found it and to do for someone that we would hope they would do for us. If these roles were reversed, would we want someone to be there to put shoes on our kids' feet? Absolutely. So,
I think this means a lot to me because I have been on the other side. So I have received a lot of help. I have been down. I have had shit happen, right?
Sure.
So I have been on the receiving side of that. And maybe that's why I'm so passionate about helping others, because I've been the guy when roles have been flipped and you couldn't afford or pay attention or physically or mentally get it all together. Life happens fast. And so, maybe that's part of the puzzle why I'm so driven to help somebody else.
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, what is it? There's a saying, doing the right thing is always the right thing. Right. And it makes you feel good. Like no one's ever been impactful in their community and being like, man, that was awful. It also is a feel good thing.
Yep.
So I'll answer this one real quick. So Christopher wanted to know recommendations on fence estimating software currently have CFS. Your thoughts, Joe? Can we discuss it offline? If not here on this live chat, we can discuss it right here. You mentioned ArcSight. So we're working with ArcSight now on building everything out. Tony Thornton's building out kind of like a starter template, really like a starter pack version of ArcSight.
Mr. Fence Academy is doing the exact same thing.
Nice. Yeah. Yep. So because it is a bit of a onboarding process, right? Because you want it tailored to your business. And I'm not saying anything about it. We would want it to be tailored. We want it to be tailored for our business. So we've been working on it for a little bit. But that's the one that and I don't want to say anything about any of the others, but we've tried a lot of them, and ArcSight's where we landed, knowing that, and we went into it knowing that there was going to be a steep onboarding curve, right? Yep. But we still went into it knowing that because we see what the possibilities are. It integrates really well with Job Nimbus, who we use as a CRM. It looks really slick. Like the presentation is really, really, really good. So that would be my recommendation. Brian's got a fair point. Sometimes running a fence company can feel like helping a nonprofit. That's fair.
Oh, it's fair.
That's fair. We had a conversation, something like this. It's like, guys, we are intentionally trying to not be a not-for-profit, right? We are a for-profit entity. Let's operate as such. And that shouldn't be, let's talk for a second. I was
going to go there myself. Go ahead. I was going to go there myself.
It's not a dirty word.
No.
It's not a dirty word. I mean,
it's by making profit that allows us to help more people. Okay.
Bingo.
Come on.
Just got done talking about building communities and helping be impactful in our community and growing it. We can't do that if we don't have the availability, whether we're talking about time, talent, or treasures.
Yes, exactly. That's the treasure part.
And you know what? All right. So let's talk about profit margins on consumer goods that people rush out to go buy. Case in point.
There you go.
Do you think Apple's making 35%? Not a chance. Not a chance. No. Right? They would laugh at 50%. When you talk about common consumer goods, they start around 100%.
Yeah, 300 is good.
Yeah, 300. Right. Absolutely. So let's
call it like it is, right?
That's right. And that's, yeah. the bigger the companies get, the more the profit margins go up for whatever reason. When it really should be invert. Like if we're talking about like who needs it or maybe how it's impactful, like it really should be switched.
Yep.
Right? I mean, it's like a rocket ship leaving Earth. It takes 90% of the energy to leave the Earth's orbit, to leave the Earth's atmosphere and get into orbit. And then 10%, now this is like when they were going to the moon. To get to the moon, get all the way back and land. It took 90% to take off, 10% to do all the rest of it and get back here.
That's life.
And so it's going to take 90% of your energy just to get off the pad, just to get this thing into orbit. And let me tell you, starting this chain link fabricating business, I can tell you that's pretty true. That's pretty true.
Yep.
But yeah, so sometimes it can feel like running a nonprofit. It can. I am bound and determined to like throw this mic off the desk for whatever reason. Corey had a point. It's amazing how many successful people in the fencing industry are people of faith. I think that's a fair observation. Love that. And they are usually successful because they see past themselves. And that definitely, I think you're not wrong. I think you're onto something there, Corey. We're not going to turn this into a discussion, but I agree with you. I agree. Absolutely. Stitch says the biggest change for me was that mindset of thinking the impact you're having on the world around you. You don't have to come out of the gate and do these big, huge things, just that small every day. Couldn't agree more.
It's the everyday thing. That's what I'm trying to say. It's the everyday thing that means more than a once in a while thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then they go on to say it's moving the needle is most important. Agreed. So Vine goes on to say, hey, Shawn and Joe, have you guys come up with a plan for the no-dig ornamental aluminum 2.5-inch post? That is a great question. Well,
the solution is you just have a 2.5-inch I-beam.
That's the thing. I don't know. Well, it's not currently offered.
Not yet.
So we have a 2-inch solution. But that is a great question.
Stand by.
Yeah. Stand by for more information. But we didn't even get into the iFence. It would be good. We've said this offline. We need to get the three of us together to really talk about that. We did that on Mark's show, but I feel like we should each kind of like
we didn't do a great job. I was literally in a freaking Uber driving, pulled up to an event like it wasn't. I think I was in an airport. I suck at planning things. Mark might be just one step behind me. You're way ahead of both of us.
I don't know about that.
Mark's like a couple of, hey man, we're gonna go live for a couple of hours. Bro, I'm landing on an airplane. I'm gonna be Ubering about that time. We'll jump on. Oh my gosh. That's Mark's style, man. Just send it.
But yeah, we do need to talk about that. So Shawn and Mark and I, Mark Olson, SWI, and Fence, we all have bought a patent and formed a company to sell iFence, which is a drivable I-beam post for ornamental aluminum. It can be used for ornamental steel as well, but it's designed for ornamental aluminum fencing. Where Dan Wheeler has been talking about this lately. He's like, concrete is a 4-letter word from now on. He said, I'm driving fence forever. And
coming from him,
I know.
That's crazy.
Right.
I mean, go back and look at the chats from a year ago with Dan Wheeler.
Yeah. No,
he's like doing a 180 complete, like, whoop. Yep. Nope. Screw the concrete truck.
Right. Like, we're not dealing with concrete trucks ever again. Well, because there was a real problem getting concrete. Well, and it's still not like readily available. It's more available than it has been. But
there's that, and then there's so many other things that go along with it. But did you see my video from Monday and Tuesday? Driving versus digging. Like we're the geeks that are gonna like try to measure and data all this stuff.
Sure.
Out, right? So
yeah.
The results are this. For those of you guys that didn't see it, you should go back and watch. I don't know what channel. I don't know. It's somewhere on Facebook. It's either
it was in one of the groups. I think I saw it come live.
Missionaries Academy group somewhere. But anyways, we had an opportunity to build 2 identical fences side by side in 2 different yards, but what was consistent is the digging, the environment, the time of the year, the people, the size, and the style of fence was all the same. So the homeowner didn't ask for this. I just saw the opportunity to get some data. And so I decided we're going to drive one system. We're talking vinyl fence here, vinyl privacy, and we're going to dig and set one to compare a couple of things: speed and cost, accuracy, quality, and then stress on our team. And here's what we learned. Our team absolutely knocked it out of the park the first day, had record installation numbers. The team had a record number, 1.75 sections per man hour is what they installed. Normally, our company average to date right now, over 300, whatever jobs it was this year, is 0.78. Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Which is moving.
0.78. These guys are 1.75. So I'm only telling you that because I just want you to understand, for us, that's as fast as we are. Okay, for us, maybe faster, but for us,
sure,
that's top line. That's unbelievable speed.
Yeah.
Okay, the next day I said, same team, I want you to do it by driving post, which they're not used to doing because we don't do it all the time. It's very rare we do it. I said, I want you to drive post and put the cameras up, videotape it, blah, blah, blah. Well, the first 24-foot line, we had 2 drivers because typically we have problems with drivers. When we have done this, which is my hesitation, both drivers break within 24 feet. I'm getting a message. They've only been on a job site for like less than 30 minutes. And I'm getting blown up with text messages. Drivers are down. I'm like, no, it can't be down. I need data. I'm calling a maintenance guy. I'm so lucky to have a maintenance man on staff. Like, divert your vehicle, head to that job site. And he makes a call on the way there, and they get the driver back up and running, and then it breaks again. He gets there and fixes it, and then it breaks again. So 2 drivers, we're working with 2, and one's broke, one's going. They're just constantly going. I say that because I want you to understand that we had nothing but problems driving post that day. We had everything stacked against us. It was raining. So it was muddy. We had everything stacked against us. They got back to the shop 3 minutes faster than the first day. And so the first day was record time, knocked out of the park, picture perfect environment. You could not have done a better job. The second day, wheels fell off the track. Worst day ever on driving, almost like horrific, inexperienced. And they were still faster. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Yeah, there's something
Worst
there.
day is still better than your best day. This is what I walked away with. I talked to the team about it. And I said, well, tell me what you think, good, bad, and ugly about driving. And they said, give me 10 more jobs like that in a row. We'll be 40% faster. I'm like,
There you go.
So we looked at the math, the cost. It was about even Steven in cost of cost of goods.
Sure.
What we didn't have is any dirt in the yard.
Yep. Spoils. Yep.
And on a rain day, boy, wasn't that important.
Yeah.
So they ended up getting 38 sections of fence and 2 gates installed on, 6.5 hours, something like that, whatever it was. But the point was, it was done in kind of an overcast, rainy day. And if we would have dug on that day, we probably would have got that job done. Or it would have been muddy all over the place.
Well, and you would have destroyed the yard. Bringing equipment into the yard and doing all that. Maybe not destroyed, but you would have impacted that yard for sure. Whereas with the driver, even so, when we're talking about driving, I think what we're looking at is going to be the hydraulic, like not a sponsor, but the Sky Drill system, or this. Did you say a Sky Drill? I think I don't know.
Sky Drill. I say Sky Drill. I've heard people say Ski Drill.
Yeah, yep. But I'm looking at that system. A lot of guys that do it on. So I was talking to a guy. Actually, this is Fence Tech a few years ago. All he did was up and down the eastern seaboard. He did solar farms. That's just what they did. They were a lot. And that's what he had said. He goes, listen, if you ever have the opportunity, jump in it with both feet, get the Sky Drill systems because they don't break. They're heavy hitting, and just go to town. And I haven't forgotten that.
We are building a super fencer truck. I think I saw that on a video too, right? This one's taking everything we've learned from all the other, I don't know, almost 10 trucks we've built. But we put it on hold. It was going to be done about 3 weeks ago. We put it back in the queue because I pulled the trigger and bought a screw compressor that goes in the motor of the truck that'll give us some obscene amount of cubic feet a minute with no air tanks, like the size so you would normally tow behind you in a vehicle, those giant compressors. Yeah. We're going to get that kind of volume out of the engine itself with an 1.25 foot line. So we can dig holes with compressed air, excavate around utilities if we had to. Yeah, we can use the giant like PD55, PD140s. I don't know what Ski Drill's got. So no hydraulic, no power pack. Just roll the hose off to the back of the truck, do your business, either dig or drive, as well as jackhammers that will run off that airline. And so if this works, this will be our prototype. If this works on this truck, we'll re-equip all the rest of the trucks with that. And that could be our go-to driver, because there's nothing to break. There's no motor running. There's no plastic shroud. There's no aluminum handles. It's just a giant chunk of steel that the guys can drop, pick up. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this has come up before. Driving posts is poor quality. When you have smaller profile posts, there's less surface area to support the post.
Okay.
I'd like to see the data.
Yeah. So there's an equation. We're working with some engineers right now to figure this out. But to improve that the efficiency of the diameter of the post, you go deeper, right? So you still get more surface. So a hole at 30 inches deep, 8 inches around, how much surface area do you have comparatively to 2.5 inch post, 4.5 feet down? So you got a surface area equation.
Yep.
And then you get, that have more flexibility at the top because the surface area is condensed to one spot at the top, even all the stuff at the bottom, but that allows it to be flexible. And so we have less failure point, that node. So I'm learning a lot from these engineers that are digging into this for us to give us the actual data to fight the architects and the engineers on spec jobs.
You're also compressing slightly, but compressing the ground when you're driving it in, like the ground has to go somewhere because you're adding something to it.
You're maximizing compression. Yep.
When you're digging a post, you're actually lessening the compression of the ground, whether you're using an auger or hand diggers or whatever. And that's where you see post settling because the ground's just not as solid. You loosen it up to remove it, set concrete into it. Concrete doesn't expand. If anything, concrete slightly contracts as it cures.
That's exactly right.
You're going to have less compaction around the post.
That's right.
So tell me that it's poor quality when you're going to have ground that is at minimum the same compaction as it was before, arguably a little bit more, or ground that's completely uncompacted around the hole and is going to lead to settling.
Plus, it's also more inconsistent if you're allowing team members to dig holes, and now you're trying to get them to fill that hole with a substance and not have air pockets and problems. And so we can control the results of a driven post. We know exactly what we're going to get by driving it because we have not disturbed the earth. The weakest link is the soil around it. So we substantially have controlled that to give us a better baseline product. Now, can someone go and dig a perfect hole and put a giant PSI compacted concrete in the ground? Yes, that probably could happen. If you compact the concrete, don't put it in wet. But that's a lot of effort and work that probably here's the reality of it. We can dissect this all day long. I love this conversation. I've even done testing in my yard to prove this point. We can have like super concrete. Let's say Elon Musk invents this super concrete that expands and it gets high PSI and all this crazy stuff, right? Let's just take it off the table. Let's say he does. The weakest link is still and will always be, just about always. I like using the word always. Let's stop. More commonly than not, will be the post itself will fail before so we set all those posts, especially in the residential world. When we're talking about residential fence, they're all going to fail before the footer does. We did this. I proved it on a YouTube video. We pulled in every single one of them, dry set, driven, wet set. They all broke before the footer failed. Commercial world with a 6 5/8, 24-foot pole. Okay, you might be talking a different scenario. Okay.
Sure.
That's the 80-20 rule. People want to hang their hat on the fact maybe that needs a different concrete footer. Perfect. But for the residential or light commercial job, the fence post itself will absolutely fail before any one of these footers we're talking about fails.
Well, and look at the highway guys. All highway guardrail all over this country is driven, and it is engineered to withstand a semi coming in contact with not only that post but the cabling systems, all the posts down the line, right? And then the question is, can you hang a 25 gauge off a driven post?
Yes.
Or a cantilever?
Yes. You can drive. Yeah, absolutely. You can drive a 4-inch post 10 foot in the ground. How do I know this? Because we've done it. And absolutely hang that cantilever gate off that and have zero to no movement. Comparatively to guys that think they're doing a good thing by digging a hole 2.5 foot deep and a pile of concrete that's tapered at the bottom. And they're like, I put concrete on it. Bro, it's going to frost heave out of the ground. It's going to move. Leverage is a thing.
Yeah, so that's the next point is the further north you get, the more common it is to see driven posts because of frost heave.
That's right.
Because there's not that mass to push up out of the hole.
Yep.
So, can you hang a 25-foot gate? Yeah. Can you do a cantilever gate? Yes. It is incredibly common in the northern climates into Canada for these posts to be driven before they're concreted in. Now,
different type of driving equipment. We're talking big boy machines. Okay.
Oh.
We're not talking little hand drivers.
Oh, no. No, these
but
are
look at skyscrapers. They drive the foundation in the ground, right? We do understand, like, you want to exponentially go to a 100-story skyscraper. They're not pouring a concrete foundation.
No.
Nope. No. They're driving those.
Absolutely. So, but we're talking about it because this is the resistance you see in the community, right?
Yes.
Guys that are used to seeing concrete, they've done it all their lives and their dad's life. Like, listen, I'm a third generation guy. We've always ever sat in concrete. Like, I understand the arguments. I mean, I lived the arguments, but there is a better way. Like, that's doing it the same way over and over because it's how you've always done it is the absolute recipe for disaster.
It's insanity.
Right. Doing the same thing over and expecting different results. There's
a definition for that.
Will you make a video on hanging a fence? We've got some videos, but we probably do some more. I think in the Week in the Life series here on the channel, I don't know about hanging fences, but yeah, we put up fences. You bet. Anyway, all right. So we probably ought to land the plane. We're now about 2 hours into this thing.
Before it gets too heated.
Right. But we should do a whole. Let's get you and Mark and myself together on a show, and let's just spend. I would say spend an hour, but it'll be a couple hours.
I have 2 engineers that are both willing to get on the show and talk about dry pack, wet set, and driven. They're both in the bridge world, pylon world, where they live in that world of engineering.
Yeah.
And we've had some super in-depth conversations with them about how we relate that data, articulate that into the fence world. And they're both willing to come on. Like, I'll get on there and talk. I mean, we are absolutely, they're individual. They don't know each other at all. They're 2 totally different people that have, because of my TikTok videos, reached out and said, you know what, you are absolutely on point, because we get all the haters. And I said, really? And they're like, yeah. And they tell me what passive resistance is and this and that. I'm like, can you say that again? Like, torquing on this and that. And, okay, but what does that mean to me? He's like, well, exactly what you're saying. Oh, well, can you get on to? Yeah, I'll get on there and tell people.
Yeah,
let's
absolutely.
do it.
Yeah, we just need to normalize it. That's what we need to do, is bring that data out to our industry, because that's the thing is, like, I think like in the building construction and the bridge building, all this, it's common knowledge. They're like, yeah, you can drive it. You just got to go deeper and you got to do this and that, but it'll be the same, if not better. But then you get into industries that just aren't used to seeing it. And it's like, oh, well, that's weird. Like, that would never work for me. Well, if it'll hold the skyscraper up, it'll probably hold your fence up.
I had no idea that dry casting, which is dry packing a pylon, is a thing in the in the engineering world. Like, they literally dry cast the abutments and tunnels and bridges. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, we do it all the time. It started in the 60s. They use centrifugal force, put them in molds, spin them really fast, completely dry concrete, and introduce an absolute minimum moisture into it, no different than dry casting or dry packing a post.
Mm-hmm.
And they do it for multiple reasons. One, to be able to get processes faster and a more consistent product. And I'm just like, I'd never heard of this in my life. So I Google it, and you can find dry casting all over the internet.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Yeah. Just because, and that's the thing, just because it's not normal in our industry doesn't mean it's not normal. Right. It just means we haven't seen it here. It is a thing elsewhere. Promise. But
for sure.
I think we could have a whole show around that discussion.
Fair enough.
But
land it.
Shawn, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on. I know you had other things to be doing on a Saturday, running your business and that sort of thing, but I appreciate you taking a couple hours and coming on and talking about fence.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for all the support, the fence world guys.
Yep. Guys, appreciate you watching or listening if you're listening on the podcast. For now, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. I'll see you next week.
Take care, Team Plus One.
Bingo.
See ya.